Well, hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be diving into options for painting the nail beds and applying nail tips. On one side I have all heat set paints, and then on the other side I have powders. So these heat set paints, the majority of them are from Genesis. For instance, I have Gray 04 from Genesis. I have Nail Tip from Genesis, Eyelid Purple from Genesis. I have Crimson, this is from Bountiful Baby Gemini line. And then I have from Genesis Pyro Red 08. And then I also have Irresistible Thinning Medium. And let's go ahead and jump into the heat set. So the most important thing that we do is clear the nail beds from all the paint residue that has accumulated over the painting process. And I actually do that with this Onyx 100% pure acetone. This comes in this clear formula, and also they have a blue formula. I highly recommend staying away from the blue formula. I was stripping a doll kit one time and ended up staining it because that blue color, it was left on the kit. So yeah, so stick with the clear. I have a clear palette, and then these are actually nail brushes. If you've been following me for any time, you guys know I'm a nail enthusiast, so I have a bit of supplies as far as it comes to nails. So this stuff comes in handy when I am reborning. So I have this brush that we'll use, which has a very thin bristles. And then I have this kind of square rounded brush for the nail bed. And then for the nail tips, I have Silver Lining Art Doll's Christine Woolley's brush, which she uses for hair painting. And the bristles on this is really fine and stays together really well when product is on it. So that creates a very nice line on the tip of the nail. So let's go ahead and clear off the extra paint that's on the toes. And I'm just pouring a little bit into this jar. And be careful with this acetone. As you can see, I had a little bit of it drip just now. So I'm going to be mindful of where I place my piece. We'll put that there. And then we'll grab an old brush, which this one is pretty frayed, but the angle of the brush allows me to take the tip of it and get into the nail bed really good. So if you notice, you can see paint residue left on the toes. So what I need to do now is just clean all of this up and get it ready for the paint application. So just taking my brush in there, dipping it, dragging the brush across the paper towel so that I don't have a lot of acetone, with the possibility of it dripping onto the rest of the vinyl. So let's just clean that off, taking the angled tip side and just taking my brush and trying to make sure I stay on the nail bed itself. Okay, so pardon the interruption. I do not like the angles that I did the feet because of the bent leg, but I'm going to do the hands instead, or the arms instead. So on one arm I'm going to do the heat set, and then on the other arm I'm going to do the powders. This is a lot easier to show and capture. So thank you for bearing with me, and let's go ahead and get started with the hand with Crimson, Pyro Red 08, Nail Tip, Eyelid Purple, and Gray 04. If you don't have Gray 04, you can certainly do just a mixture of white and black until you get a very medium gray, and then you can add a touch of a very small speck of ultramarine blue if you want to get to the exact color that I have. And then the varnish that we're going to use is Xodus Glazing Medium. That's what we're going to use to seal the nail bed whenever we're done. So the first thing we're going to do is go into this Eyelid Purple to just create a base. I don't have too much paint on here at all, just enough to give me a little bit of color, because we still want the nail bed to be translucent. But we also want to be able to give the nail bed some color at the same time. And when you are painting nails, you want to take into account the hand gesture itself. So if you were to take your hands and ball them up like this, we know that right here would probably have a lot more blood flow. So once we get to that portion, we'll be sure to add some more paint there, more color there. But right now we're just putting down a base. And go to this little thumb that's tucked under. And I haven't varnished the entire arm just yet, so some of the colors are not as vibrant as they should be at this moment. So my piece may look a little dull, but that's okay because I haven't gone in to varnish anything. Just FYI. Okay. So we're gonna take a very small cosmetic wedge. So because I am a nail enthusiast, again, I have a lot of nail supplies. This comes in handy. These little cosmetic wedges comes in handy in this little holder. Whenever you're doing nails or trying to get into tight spaces, like granted, I could take a cosmetic wedge and do it, but it's just so much easier in having this little tool. So I'm just gonna take the corner edge of it and just pounce a little bit to take off the texture, if there's any texture from the brush. I'm being very light with my pressure because I don't want to take off too much paint. Being very light with the pressure. And as you can see, I have taken my hand and like blown it up, squeezed it, so that I can really get in here. Make sure you manipulate your kit if need be to really get into all the nooks and crannies so that you can get as best of a look as possible whenever you are painting. You want that application to be nice and smooth. Okay, so we can see how much paint we have on this wedge, which is not that much. So I'm gonna put this to the side. And then I'm gonna take out my heat gun and just apply enough heat to where it takes off the sheen that's on the nails currently. So the nail gun that I have is one that I can control the air pressure and the temperature. Feel free to take a screenshot of it. I don't know the name of it, but I got it off of Amazon. Matter of fact, I'll try and find it and link it down below. But the beauty in this hot air gun or heat gun is that for larger surfaces, if you were taking a class or something, a painting class, and you needed to blow a piece entirely, this large diameter makes it really cool. But for us, we need this attachment so that we can really zoom in on the smaller space and apply that air pressure to about where we need it. Now, the beauty in this is the air pressure increases, of course, by the number of notches. So it's at 0 now because it's off. 1 is low, 2 is high. And then I can also control the temperature with this dial. So I like to keep it in the center, midway. I think that's just a safe place for it to be. Of course, if I took it to the max, I'd really be risking it, risking the possibility of melting my piece or burning a hole in it. So I like to keep my pressure on 1 and my temperature midway. So that's something to consider if you're wanting to purchase a heat gun. If you don't want to purchase a heat gun, you can certainly just pop your piece into the oven upon each layer, but you want to make sure that you are baking every single layer so that you can rest assured that every layer that you want to be there is there and you're not taking layers off once you add another. So let's go ahead and start to flash off the sheen with this heat gun. Be mindful of the distance and be sure you are waving, just like a blow dryer, that you are waving your heat gun and rotating your piece so that it doesn't sit in one place for too long, because yes, it is hot. It is definitely still hot, so you want to be mindful of the distance in between the heat gun and your vinyl. And I'm not going to do it for that long, but it's enough to get the sheen off. Okay, so next thing I'm going to do is apply some blood flow right underneath this nail bed so that I can create the illusion of blood flow under the nail bed in between the nail and the skin, right? So I'm going to go into this crimson with this brush, with this detail brush. I don't want too much pigment because we're trying to do a very fine, thin line. Hang on a second, guys. Gotta take my glasses off so I can really see up close. Crazy the way your eyes change. Okay, so let's go in here, starting at one corner of the nail bed, going all the way across to the other. We don't want it too stark or too strong of color coming through, but just enough to give us that illusion that there is blood flow occurring. And let's turn it over and do this thumb. I'm going to push some air into this to pop it out. And really get in here. Sorry for the shakiness of the camera. I didn't realize how hard it would be to do the nails on camera. But we're going to work it out. Because where there's a will, there's a way, right? Okay. So let's go ahead and do another look around to make sure we have enough blood flow where we want it. We don't want it to be too strong, and we want it to be even pretty much all the way across. This was a little too subtle for me, so I'm going to add in a little bit more. Same thing here. And with this particular finger, I want to go ahead and add some extra blood flow right here underneath where the nail tip is going to go. Just going at a little diagonal, pretty much in the direction of how it meets the hand, the palm. And I'm going to take my little tool and just do a very light pressure pounce. Very, very light. Just enough to take off any brush strokes. Okay, so let's pull out our heat gun again. If you're ever wondering how long you should apply the heat gun, a good rule of thumb is like say the ABCs twice in your head, like sing the ABCs, or you can just do it until it flashes off, whichever works best for you. Every heat gun is not the same, you know, different wattages and what have you. So at this point, we are going to take our nail bed brush again, wiping it clear from the eyelet purple, and now we're going to go into the crimson. Well, actually, let's do this first. Let's go into our gray, because with black babies, you tend to see a very darker area towards like the bottom of the nail bed, towards the cuticle. So that's the purpose of the gray. So let's go ahead and go in with this gray color. And it's not really a moon shape. And it's not so much a straight line either. But we're gonna take this gray color and come up the nail, not even midways, right below midway, and then take the same gray color and outline just the perimeter of the nail bed itself. This just helps to define this area a little bit more on this skin tone. Now for any other skin tone, like a lighter one, I would use a crimson. But because this is a darker color, this gray 04 is pretty good to go in and darken up the bottom of the nail bed, as well as define the nail bed a bit more. Some people like to do a darker red there. It's, you know, pretty much up to you. I just prefer to have that darker color. Again, going below halfway. So halfway would be about right here, and we're going underneath that. And I'm doing my best to blend out this line because I don't want it to appear like I'm trying to do a moon, because I'm not. And again, this does not have to be, it doesn't have to be too defined. Or too, it doesn't need to look intentional, is what I'm trying to say. I'm gonna dip this into some thinning oil because the paint isn't moving that well. So just a little drop of thinning oil. I just put like the very tip of the brush into the thinning oil to get some more movement. And now I can really move that gray around. Now just going around the perimeter. And not the entire perimeter, as you can see. We won't do it to the thumb because that area is covered. It's tucked underneath. Okay, so using our little tool, it's coming at this angle, doing another light pressure, really trying to work on that line that we have. Turn it to the side so you can see the amount of pressure that I'm applying. Very light. Blowing up the hand again by just squeezing it so I can really get into the nail bed. Working out that line so it's not left there. And we're gonna do this one more time. We want the darkness of this area to really show through. So let's go ahead and take our heat gun. That's good enough. Let's go in with our second application of this gray. Really concentrating on the center this second time around. And the very bottom. I'm gonna do the same thing. The center. And the very bottom. And using my brush to work the paint out from the center to the other side, like the side walls of the nail. Okay. Bounce off. Very, very light. A barely there touch. This was a little bit darker than I wanted it to be, so I'm pouncing this a little bit more than I did the others. So we have some depth built towards the bottom. Some people like to go even darker, so it's up to you on what you choose to do there. Now, I'm not gonna cure it right now. I'm gonna go in with this same brush and go into my crimson and mix the crimson and the Pyro 08 just a little bit. If you can see that mauve-ish color. It's very light mauve color. Make a bigger swatch so you guys can see. Very light mauve. So I want to brighten the nail bed back up just a little bit, because we are still trying to create dimension on the nail bed, even though it is just the nail. So I'm going above where we did that gray, up to the tip of the nail. So I'm not going over that gray part. Hopefully you can see some of the effect that that crimson red has already taken by putting it right here on the corner part of the nail where it's touching the palm. Putting that layer underneath really helps to bring in some more depth. And let's go right here. And then we can go ahead and do this little tucked in thumb. And one thing I forgot to do, go into this gray, like although the thumb is tucked in, I can still see the side wall of it. I need to define this very top part. Okay. So take our tool and do another light pounce. Very light. Our main goal is to try to make a seamless transition from that gray area to the lighter portion, and to also work out any brush strokes that we may see on the nail bed. So I'm taking this tool and like just dragging it into the gray as I pounce. So I'm just doing like a light touch and swiping it backwards. Camera keeps losing focus. Okay, now let's take out our heat gun. Now for the fun part, going into the nail tip paint jar itself. I really enjoy doing the nail tip. To me, I feel like that's when the nail comes alive. So I'm gonna take this nail brush by Christine Woolley from Silver Lining Art Dolls, and I have added, in my nail tip, I have added just a little bit of yellow ochre to give me a more translucent, off-white creamish color for the nail tip itself. And I didn't want to do the entire jar because I didn't know if maybe I would need this jar for something else. Turns out I've only used it for nail tips. So, and it already has oil in it. I think at one point I did do a drop of thinning oil, so that liquid you see is more than likely that. But I'm just going to take this brush and swirl it around in here. If you don't have this color, you could do, for sure, like a Flesh 08 or Flesh 07. Add you a little bit of yellow ochre. Or if you have yellow white, you could do yellow white, add you a little bit of ochre. You can certainly create this color. So I just swirled it around. And I'm going to be focusing on this, the very tip of the nail. Just the very tip. I don't want to do a French manicure, right? So I'm going to go from one corner to the other corner, just drawing a straight line, focusing on the very end of the nail, the very top of the nail. So this is too wet. So let me dry out my brush a little bit and find an area that's not as moist in my pot. On this side here a little bit. Just saturating my brush really, really good. And because of that fine tip, I don't really have to take off any excess paint. So I just went on that side part of the pot. And I'm assuming because it was wet just now, that's why it's not coming through. And the beauty of these bristles is it leaves little to no texture at all. So if you do see texture, it's because of your paint application underneath. But hopefully whenever you apply your glazing medium, a lot of that extra texture will come out and it'll just look like a natural nail. So I'm just going over this a few times until I am satisfied with that color. A very natural looking nail tip. And following the curvature of the nail bed is really all that you're gonna do. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Our nails don't grow perfectly in a straight line. Our nail tips don't. So just looking for the very tip of the nail bed. Continuing to follow the curvature of the nail bed. And if you don't like your nail tips this natural looking, if you want to see more of a white tip, then feel free to use titanium white. I just like to have a natural appearance if I can. That's just my preference. Doesn't mean it's right, doesn't mean it's wrong. And we're gonna make that part stand out a little bit more with our next step. So I'm taking the end of my brush, the little dotting tool, and working out some of that mauvish color that we had. I dipped it in a little bit of thinning oil because I still see some of the lines in it. So I am just working that through. Okay. I'm gonna dry this up a little bit. And now I'm gonna create the actual nail tip itself. And for the sake of time, I'm actually gonna just upload the powder video. So you can see the very tip of that nail, and you can see this gray and white right here. I don't like that. So I am going to take that dotting tool and work out that line of demarcation, dipping my dotting tool into thinning oil. Because the beauty of using a heat gun is it doesn't completely cure it. So I can still work that out. Okay. Okay. So this one is a little faint. We're gonna put a little bit more color on it. But I like the appearance of the other one. And it'll really show through more once the glazing medium is on there as well. And if this is too thick of a line for you, you could very well go in with something like the dotting tool and go straight across. Or not necessarily straight across, but again, following the curvature of the nail and thin that out even more. Because some people really like to have just that straight line, the very tip top of the nail. kind of like the barely there translucent look. Like this would be my favorite one. This one. Bake this in the oven completely for 10 minutes on 265. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive into the glazing medium. It's gonna go into the pot here. Just a little bit, not very much. And we're just going to apply it just like we would any other varnish on the nail bed. We still want a very natural looking appearance. We don't want it to be too shiny or too matte, but just right in between. Let's blow our little hand up again. And so if you're wondering, like, why are you using the brush? Because it can leave brush strokes. I kind of like the ridges that it leaves in the nails. To me, it just gives another added layer of dimension with the ridges from the brush. However, you can always take your pouncing tool. I'll just put it over one and kind of pounce those lines out. But it does leave like a little bit of a texture from the wedge itself. So I just went around the nail. So you can see, like, if you look at the pinky in comparison to the index finger, I really like the way it looks with the brushes, with the brush strokes. But that is an option, to take your wedge and just pounce the brush strokes off of it. And there's one other option I can give you guys. So this is another option. This is a silicone brush. They come in like this pack, and you can just, of course, use a smaller one. And whenever you are using your, or taking your glazing medium, you just apply it just like you would anything else, but try and do it all in one stroke so that you're careful not to leave any lines. So for instance, we would come over the nail bed, like start from the middle, like hover over the middle of it, the center of it, and just try and go one stroke up. And that didn't even do it all the way. So you would have to come over a little bit more. And I just can't help myself, and I have to keep going over just to make sure there's no lines. And that's another option if you want a smoother application. And in this way, you don't have to use a cosmetic wedge to pounce the medium off. It's up to you. It's up to you and your preference. So just have fun with it and just decide. You know, maybe you can do it with the test limb and look at the finish between using a silicone brush, the cosmetic wedge, and the nail brush. Or you may choose to do the silicone brush and the cosmetic wedge. It's just up to you and what you prefer. But as for me, I like to see my lines in the nails. I don't know why, to be completely honest. I just kind of like the lines because it just adds a little bit more depth and uniqueness to it. It's just not a complete flat nail. So there we have it. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this in the oven, let it bake. The instructions on this are to cure dry paint in a preheated oven at 270 for 10 minutes, and that's what we're gonna do. When you're putting your piece in the oven, you want to be mindful of how you position it as well, because you don't want this wet paint, especially these tips, to be disturbed by it touching the cloth or the side of your oven. So be very careful of how you position it. Now, if you don't have an extender ring, because I have two, you may want to just lay it on the side, but because I have this extender ring, that means my hood is going to stand up much higher, because you don't want the element from your hood to get very close to your piece. So make sure you're being considerate of the top of your element from your hood, and then where the piece is. You don't want them coming in close contact. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the very next video. Take care.